Welcome to Redact TV. I'm Don Friedman, President of the RIA Digital Assets Council. Today we have Nikos Panigirtzoglou, Managing Director, Global Market Strategy at JP Morgan. Nikos, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
So the first question we have for you is, you obviously came out with this recent report on alternative currencies, which says there's a difference in investor attitudes based on age. Boomers like gold, millennials like Bitcoin. Do you think boomers will continue to shy away from Bitcoin, or might FOMO take over?
There is a clear trend, and the trend is that the so-called Generation X, millennials, have been showing a strong preference towards Bitcoin, the so-called digital gold. The interest that we have been seeing from this generation, millennials, which is the age group between 25 and 40 years old, has been confirmed via various surveys. Of course, the ownership of Bitcoin is anonymous, so we cannot prove that, but most surveys have been confirming a strong interest here by this generation Y, in terms of investing in Bitcoin, and also perhaps from the previous generation, Generation X, the age group between 40 and 55 years old, and the younger cohort of that group has been showing a strong interest, and that has been happening for some years. I would argue here that over the past year or so, some surveys are showing some interest by baby boomers. And maybe 2 or 3 years ago, many baby boomers would be reluctant to even consider Bitcoin as an asset class, but some of them appear to have been thinking about buying Bitcoin, investing in Bitcoin, which suggests that even with baby boomers, the attitude is changing. But the big picture here is that millennials, Generation Y, is going to become a more important component of the investors' universe over time, inevitably. And given the strong preference that they show for digital gold, for Bitcoin over traditional gold, and given that the ratio between the two is 1 to 10 in terms of the market capitalization, the stock of Bitcoin is 1/10 of the stock of gold for investment purposes. That ratio will change inevitably over time to something that is more equal, and that will come perhaps not only via a big appreciation of Bitcoin prices over time, but also perhaps via a secular underperformance here of gold.
Great, great. Next question we have is, do you detect any preference for how people buy Bitcoin? So are they doing it directly or via a fund of some kind? What are your thoughts there?
Yeah, there is indeed a preference towards fund investments, and we've seen that in the Grayscale Bitcoin Trust, the many investors there are actually not retail, are institutional investors. The reason is that many family offices or asset managers or other funds that want to invest in Bitcoin, they are either more comfortable or they are only permitted to invest in a fund. And in this case, the Grayscale Bitcoin Trust is the most convenient way for them. And also we've seen that in the proliferation of crypto hedge funds. These are also funds that invest in Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies, and there is a strong growth in that space as well. Again, being the result of asset managers and funds that want to invest in Bitcoin finding either more convenient or perhaps fund space is the only permissible way for them to do that Bitcoin investment.
Great. And lastly, some people have been calling Bitcoin a fraud. Do you think this view is changing?
Indeed, I think that was the baby boomers generation, perhaps, and I think the peak of that talk was towards the beginning of 2018, after the collapse of the Bitcoin price. You had more and more like baby boomers calling Bitcoin a fraud. But this attitude is changing. The sponsorship that we have seen to Bitcoin from even corporates, we had Square, we had MicroStrategy, we had PayPal, and the sponsorship that we've seen to Bitcoin from respectable asset managers and family offices is changing the view of baby boomers. And I said that at the beginning, is that in the some surveys suggest that in the most recent year, in 2020, the interest in Bitcoin by baby boomers have gone up from very low levels, but has gone up. And that shows that something is changing. And I think anecdotally, I haven't heard many people calling Bitcoin fraud this year. That was, as I said, very intense 2-3 years ago at the beginning, in particular of 2018, but I haven't met, to be honest, anybody recently calling Bitcoin fraud.
Gotcha. Well, we appreciate your time and your insight, and thanks for being a guest on Redact TV.
Thank you.